Welcome back to In the Making. I'm Baratunde Thurston. We've been on this journey together for a while now. I mean, my beard is literally grayer. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Building a nation that governs for all is not about waiting for someone else to do it. It has to start with us, with how we show up in our own lives, organizations, and communities. And yes, it goes all the way up to the federal government, but it starts right where we are. Now, the thing we haven't yet gotten to is what happens when all this progress gets threatened. What happens when a new administration or a new Congress or a new court decision tries to roll back all this hard work? We've seen it before. We're seeing it now in certain ways. Policies that took decades to build, dismantled in months. Rights we had, now taken away. Communities that finally got a seat at the table, kicked out the building altogether. Now here's where the Constitution comes in, specifically the 13th and 14th Amendments, something PolicyLink is working on and what we're gonna get into today. Now you might be thinking, okay, Baratunde, what does a 150-year-old constitutional amendment have to do with me and my life today? Please stick with me. This is actually about you. The 13th and 14th Amendments were written right after the Civil War. The 13th abolished slavery. The 14th promised equal protection under the law. They were the nation's best attempt to correct the treatment of Black people in America following enslavement, and to lay the groundwork for a democracy that could finally serve all of us. See what I did there? But here's what most people don't know. Even though those amendments were written into the Constitution over 150 years ago, they're really underused tools today. They belong to us, all of us, not just the lawyers among us, not just the judges among us, to us. Think of it this way. When your water's contaminated, when your kid's school is underfunded, when you can't get health care, these amendments are why you have the right to demand better. They are so much more than words on paper. They are power for the people. So let's get into it. Welcome back, Michael McAfee, Ashleigh Gardere. What's up?
Hey.
It's good to be with you.
We're gonna dissect these amendments in the Constitution, and we're gonna do it in a way that is so far from like a law school lecture and so much more tied to how people actually live their lives and how we could be living our lives even better. So I need your help connecting the dots. I promised the people that this wasn't just some 150-year-old typed up text from a long time ago. What does it have to do with folks today? And why should someone pay attention right now to these 150-year-old amendments?
Well, I think one of the most important reasons why we should pay attention to these amendments is because we're not losing because of programs and services. We're losing because of law. So whether you like it or not, if we don't get rooted in the law, we don't stand a chance of winning. And the things that we do win on can be too easily reversed. And so this was a maturing moment for Ashleigh and me personally and professionally to recognize that, do we just want to do good work, or do we want to do good work that will stand the test of time? Yeah. And if we want to do good work to stand the test of time, it has to be good structurally sound legal work. So for us, that is also why we talk about being founders. Because when you see yourself as a founder, you won't see the Constitution or those amendments as static things that happened back then. You'll think about how to bring all of your creativity and radical imagination to making them apply now. Yeah. And that's what our movement needs. That's what the equity movement needs. That's what all movements need, quite frankly, is to figure out how to make that Constitution relevant today.
If someone is concerned about the quality of their kid's school, the quality of the air that is floating through their neighborhood, what's the connection of these amendments to those concerns?
So, folks have heard us talk about a couple things on at PolicyLink. The first is, all means all, and it feels super aspirational and new. But the 13th Amendment actually is the law that made that so, right? So in addition to really taking down slavery and saying that's not who we're going to be anymore. In doing so, it said, wait a minute, well, Black folks, folks who were formerly enslaved have got to have the rights that everyone else does. In fact, everybody's got to have full access to all the rights, right? So 13th Amendment is the law on the books that says all must mean all. 14th Amendment is the one that says how we're going to make that so, right? So it's the one that guarantees equal protection. Okay. It also says the government has an affirmative duty to deliver, whether it's the water, whether it's an excellent education for your child's school, whether it's access to your good job through a transportation system, a transit system that actually works. Yeah. The 14th Amendment is what delivers that.
I'm gonna go off script, don't kill me. Here's the thing. Some people will hear this and they'll be like, you're just trying to make big government programs. You want the government teaching all our kids. You want the government providing water. You want the government providing all of our needs directly. Is that what you're saying? And if not, what's the guarantee?
I'm saying that there ought to be a baseline. If you live in these United States, anywhere between the two shores, that there ought to be a baseline experience that you get to have in this country. And what I appreciate about something Michael said in a previous episode about young people, like grown-ups make this super complicated. Yeah. For young people, it's, I can go to the school that I want to go to because it offers a band or because it offers an arts program, and I can pick that school. I'll be able to, I actually have access to it. Like, I want to go to that school and they will accept me into that school and I will get an excellent education. When I pick that school that I want to go to, I will be able to afford to get there. Right. Whether it's my family's transportation or if we don't have a car, there's going to be a bus line or a train line that gets me there, right? Oh, when I go to school and somebody came to school, Jeremy, and made me sick, right? That I can go to the doctor. Like, there will be a doctor that will see me and they won't say, well, let me see all your paperwork. Do you have insurance? Let me see, right? Like, it's super simple. Like, if you just look through a child's eyes about what our experience ought to be, now we don't have to be like, oh, wait a minute. We're talking about redistribution of resources, or should we have big government or small government? We're talking about what any person should have access to just because they live here shore to shore.
What we deserve.
What we deserve. And we already have big government. So we should stop talking about whether we got it or not. You got big government for war. You got big government for business. Why can't you have big government for the people? See, we've created these false narratives that when you really think about them, they don't make sense. So the reality is we need government, and we should stop lying about it, and we should stop acting like it is a bad thing that we need government. We live in a society. Government is a fundamental part of that society, and what we are asking people to do is ensure that government provides that floor that Ashley's talking about, that baseline of support. That's what we're talking about.
Turns out, historically, we have turned to the 14th Amendment, but a lot of us don't know that. So this is a little history moment opportunity. Where have we relied on the 14th Amendment for past progress, and why is it relevant now?
So every Civil Rights Act that you can think of, from 1868 to now, has been based inside of the 14th Amendment. You're like, oh, yeah, well, of course, Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. Okay, of course, Voting Rights Act. Well, disability rights. Oh, okay. Actually, marriage equality, right? Every door, when you think about the course of history in these United States, the door that folks walk through to say, oh, no, me too. I'm supposed to be a part of the all. The 14th Amendment has been the cornerstone.
Even that clean air.
Clean air, yes. The one challenge that we have is that typically we wait until there's a problem. And then it's like, wait a minute, let me look in that toolbox. What's the tool I have for this? Oh, look, here's the 14th Amendment. We have not really embraced or owned the 14th Amendment as an everyday Sunny Tuesday, Stormy Friday as the cornerstone that we want to build on. And that's about like normalizing this idea, this commitment to all. It's about normalizing this idea that the government really is responsible to deliver for all of us. It frustrates me because
I hear that.
we have always had the tools. We've always been smart enough. It's just we won't make that final decision about whether or not everybody ought to be able to thrive, whether or not we actually believe in the words, the opening words of the Constitution, promoting the general welfare.
And when you give someone a constitutional argument, when I hear constitutional and amendment, I think lawyers. I'm not, so I tap out. This is me. And I care about rights and freedom. Obviously, I'm here with you. And I'm like, I didn't go to law school. I don't understand this stuff formally and technically. But there is something basic here that I don't think requires that. Can you just explain to folks why you don't need to be a lawyer to pick up the light of the 14th Amendment to power some of this movement for all?
We're not lawyers either.
What?
And when you think about results, you end up doing what it takes to achieve them.
Yeah.
We do know how to hire the law firms. Yeah. It's not like we don't have resources at our disposal to be creative with. We could keep doing the same old thing we were doing, or we could try something different. We tried something different after doing a lot of research and talking to folks about, can you find something new in the 14th Amendment? Many folks said, oh, you can't touch it for fear of precedent. And we were like, well, that just don't seem right. We're going to sit here for the next 40 years and keep saying, ain't it awful? And we're not even going to try to explore anything new for when there is a future possibility to be able to do something. We said that's unacceptable. So we hired one of the best law firms in the country. They found new ways for us to be able to use the 14th Amendment as an offensive strategy, not defense, not complaining, ain't it awful? And all it took was us choosing to say, this just doesn't sit right. Let's just go explore it and see. And that's what I mean when I say, let's untap the creative genius in the sector. You turn the creative genius on the nonprofit sector loose on the 14th Amendment, and the movement people will find ways to use it for every issue that you can imagine. That's when we're at our best, when we're being street smart. Well, we don't need your legal smart right now. It was the lawyers that were telling us don't do anything. We need your street smart hustle right now, married with the legal acumen to make this happen.
Can I give you proof?
Please.
About why you don't have to be an attorney? So part of our American culture, there are other folks who care a lot about amendments. So many of us, when we hear Second Amendment, oh, those are Second Amendment people, they're like, oh, that's the gun people. Okay, there might be 5% of the gun people, the gun rights people who are attorneys. And yet we have millions of people got tattoos, Second Amendment on my arm, I got my guns, right? Like, you don't have to, but they've built what I respect deeply about actually the NRA, an institution who has rooted itself in a constitutional amendment, is because they've taken it out of just the legal context and brought it into the political and cultural sphere, right? And so you have a lot of people who deeply identify, their identities are tied to a constitutional amendment because they find themselves there, right? They're not attorneys. First Amendment people, when we think about the ACLU, we see those commercials all the time, right? You're like, oh, those are the First Amendment people. That's the civil liberties people, or that's the free speech people. Even if you're not, civil liberties might sound fancy. A whole lot of people are like, oh, free speech, right? Again, 5% of those folks might be attorneys, right? But they've recognized, oh, that's a legal tool that protects me. What we're saying is, and I think what we have figured out is that for each of those amendments, they're super heavy on the individual, right? Like my right, my individual right. And what we are excited about that's possible as we create 14th Amendment people, only 2 of them had to be attorneys, right? Is that we could root our identities in the collective.
And we.
In we.
Not just me.
Yes. Yes. And isn't that so much easier? Isn't it so much easier to start from everybody 18 over can vote?
Right.
Like, that feels really easy instead of the opposite, which is, okay, now you have to show me this and then prove this. And then, right? Like, that's what's so exciting to me about the 14th Amendment. This affirmative duty, that sounds like really fancy language, but it's as basic as saying you start from all, right? Not we're starting from these 5 people and then how do we keep expanding it out? That's the difference.
And you start from love. See, a government that loves you will make it easy. A government that just thinks you all are lying, cheating, sniveling people who don't deserve anything, that I gotta constantly surveil, will put all these other mechanisms in place. That is the fundamental difference. So when we talk about changing the nature and the logic, that's what we mean. Your government should love you. Not just love corporate interest, not just love the wealthy interest, but love it all. Notice we're not saying you can't have wealth, you can't have corporations. We're sophisticated enough to hold it all. And what we're going to demand now is just like we find a way for corporates, the military, wealthy folks, we need to find the capacity to do this for everybody else. And that's important because we're not trying to get into a left or a right or a moderate argument here. What we're talking about transcends all of that. The government should love your ass, full stop. And it should make things easy for you instead of putting up all these artificial barriers. This is bringing about the accelerated decay of our nation. And it's time for it to stop.
If you don't love the people, why be in the business and work of serving the people?
That's right.
Why have contempt for people you're here to serve?
That's right.
And you may be in the wrong line of work if that's your attitude about the government.
And constantly saying that it's awful and constantly going to the street and saying it's awful means nothing if you don't get into the law. So this is the ultimate reason. You really want to say why? Because nobody really fears us going to the street because they know we ain't going to be able to be out there long. We got to go back to work. We got to do it. We think about all the movements recently. They don't have long shelf lives, even though they are profoundly important.
And so if you're still on the fence about why the 14th Amendment, why are you taking us down this legal path? That's all just way too heady, right? It's because we want to, for once and for all, right?
I see that. I see what you did.
Deliver on all the things, that baseline that everyone in these United States ought to have, and do it in a way that can't just be washed away by the next election.
If we're going to hang on to a word, it better be a word that has a legal basis. That's what we're trying to get to.
There's a spectrum of response to what we're going through right now. One is capitulation. I'm just tired, let them do what they're gonna do. I'll figure it out on the other side of this life, right? There's a version of that. There is the burn it all down, right? There's nothing good in this. It is rotten to the core. It's been rotten from day one. So it's painful, it sucks, and it was written. It's chickens coming home to roost. Okay, here we go. And then there's this, which feels like a very meaningful, ambitious, yet still bound approach, where the most radical person might think, all right, torch it all, we gotta start from zero, right? We're gonna start with a spanky new constitution, and there's reasons to justify that call, and certainly there are people who are already moving toward it who don't have us in mind. But on that road, or maybe even instead of it, let's look one more time at what we got here. It's like one more close look at the, look, bro, you check out this 14th? Sis, you see the 13th? I think we might have something to build on here. And it's nerdy. First of all, very nerdy to just be like, let me pour over the Constitution and see if there's a secret.
We're a think tank.
That's true. You have policy in your name. So you be reading. That's good. That's good. I'm glad. Because then you unearth something that's been there for a long time and not deployed in this way. And I think just from a almost spiritual, at least slightly vibey direction to find something useful and good in this thing, in this old document that so many of us have been experiencing the harm from, or the abdication, right? The lack of any consideration, not even harm, just indifference. What does that have to do with me? Well, actually, has a lot to do with you. And the last thing I'll say is a mini Baratunde soapbox, but what you started with, Ashleigh, explaining the origin, 13, 14, 15 come after the end of our formal enslavement. So this is an act of Black liberation in service of all. And it's not about just us, but it is because heavily of us. And it's something we should be proud of as Black people today, to be like, our ancestors did this. We are dusting this off and moving in the way that they moved to remind people today, yo, they fought for a lot more than themselves, a lot more than us. They fought for all.
That's right. And even if you were to say, we just want to throw that out and start over, if you don't hold the consciousness of all, you simply recreate it.
Right.
So this is why we're stuck right now.
Right.
There is no more work until you can hold all. There is no more work. I don't care how fancy you get.
Yeah.
So even if you throw that one out, I'll give it to you. Throw it out. You're just going to create another one that's going to be the same. Unless you hold an all consciousness. And so this is why we've come to the end of the road right here. This is the frontier for our generation. And this work will be waiting for us, whether we do it today or 1,000 years. We can gnash our teeth. We can resist it all we want. It is just the work. And that is the most freeing and, for me, soul-filled moment of reckoning, which is there ain't nothing left. That's why we've thrown everything we got into this now.
And this is why I F with y'all. I'm serious, because you can run, but you can't hide from an ultimate truth.
That's right.
And I think all peoples across all times have struggled individually and collectively with, do I think I'm better than you? Do I think I'm less than you? Carrying both sides of this imbalance with respect to other forms of life even. And this is old. This is older than 150 years, right? This 14th Amendment is a delayed acknowledgement of an ultimate truth that our indigenous brethren have been carrying in their 7th-generation thinking and in their indigenous democracy thinking. And all people who are connected to the earth also like, oh, we can't really just be above everything, right? That doesn't feel holy, that doesn't feel spiritual, doesn't feel true or good. So when you say this is it, this is the end of the line, it's also the beginning.
That's right.
And we're just coming back to something that's like been there the whole time.
Yeah, can you imagine, I told you, y'all have now been introduced to my little girl self, standing in front of the flag, saying the Pledge of Allegiance, like with her whole heart. But could you imagine if we really, and this is what I believe, that like there's nothing more patriotic. There's nothing more patriotic than working in service of all of us. And we get to like end all of those debates. We don't have to see whose flag is the biggest and who, right? Like the all that was written in the original documents, that is in our equity definition, like that's the most patriotic work we can do. And I think that we have, to your point, when you look, it's always been the folks who were excluded who picked up this mantle of democracy and was like, I'm going to make that real. And so here we are again. But we could finally do it not just in fits and starts, but really like set a new standard, a new cornerstone, and build everything off of that.
Oh, that's a much more solid, durable, enforceable, loving foundation to build this house for everybody, for all. So what does it look like for us to become 14th Amendment people and actually make that a part of the culture?
So as excited as I get about the idea of like millions of people having like the 14th tattooed on their forearms, I mean, the shoulder. That's not the only goal.
Okay, more than tattoos.
More than tattoos. There's a whole crew of people who are leaning into demanding that our government really serve all of us. This notion of equal protection in the 14th Amendment is not just about protection from the government. Just get out of my way. Let me do what I want to do. But the idea that our freedom, our thriving, that our flourishing could come through the government, that equal protection could be delivered through the government. And the idea that millions of us would understand that and demand it. That's what this vision of 14th Amendment people means to me.
That is, it's a beautiful vision. It's a big shift. And part of what helps, if not is a total requirement, is that you don't just see the government as them. It's easy to be afraid of them. It's easy to want protection from them.
It's ours.
But when it's us, then yes, safety comes through us. We keep us safe. We protect us, so it's through us. And in a properly functioning democracy, the government is us. So this helps us get there and make that true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel irresistible?
It feels way better than what we got going on right now. So here's where I'm landing after this conversation. The 13th and 14th Amendments, they aren't just words on paper from 150 years ago. They say that government must actively ensure fairness, not just avoid being unfair. And that's powerful because these words belong to us, not just to lawyers or judges, but to we the people. Think about it. First Amendment people, they stand for free speech, some of them. Second Amendment people, they stand for gun rights. They built entire identities around constitutional amendments, movements, organizations, tattoos, a sense of belonging. So what if we became 14th Amendment people? What if fairness for all wasn't just a slogan, but an identity that we carry collectively that is grounded in the Constitution? A commitment that says, I will not accept a nation that governs just for a few. This is not abstract. It couldn't get more real. When your water's contaminated, when your kid's school is underfunded, when you can't get health care and the care you get is not good enough. Now you got some ground to stand on. You're not asking for charity. I want you to say that one with me. This is not a request for charity. It is a demand for what the Constitution provides all of us. Now, we've talked about shifting from reactive to proactive, from proving harm after it happens to requiring institutions to show they're serving everyone before they even make a decision. And what I'm holding on to is how this type of change becomes permanent. Not because an administration says so, or there was a temporarily convincing candidate or party in a certain position of power, or a court ruled a certain way on a certain day, but because the people, who are the foundation of all of this, won't accept anything less. My question for you and for me, are we bold enough to actually do this work? Are we willing to become 14th Amendment people who make this country finally govern for all, not just for me, not just for you, and certainly not just for a few, but for all? This is a nation that hasn't been, but the potential has always been, and now it's ours to create. I'm Baratunde Thurston. This has been In the Making, and that's exactly what this is. Democracy in the making. And we the people, we're just getting started.